Good morning, everybody. These waning days of summer. Thank you for being here. It's 8:30. I think people will still be dribbling in, but let's get started for the people who are punctual. I'm going to begin with just some brief comments about what's going on with the Select Board. On Monday, we had a joint meeting with the school committees and the Finance Committee to talk about capital planning, which is a great kickoff to collaboration among the groups as we go into the budgeting process. And I think that went really well. At our Monday evening select board meeting, I asked the select board members to rest up because we've got an incredibly busy September. Let me just give you a list of some of the things that we've got not facing us, but some of the things we're going to be doing in September. On September 4th, we're having a site visit at the 2229 Main Street. On September 7th, there's Ag Day. On September 12th, we're having the MCI Forum with DCAM. September 22nd is the Stone Soup Dinner. September 25th is Ethics Training. September 30th is the Residential Tax Exemption Forum here. And then we also have 2 separate select board meetings during that month. So this is just a partial list. So September is going to be very busy for all of us. So try to enjoy the next week or 2 of downtime because September is going to be fun, but a lot to do. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we are finalizing our flag policy. We're going to have a draft from our subcommittee at our next meeting. We'll discuss it in open meeting. We'll be open to community feedback, and we will finalize it at the end of September. And the other thing I want to mention is we're in the middle of our annual town manager evaluation. If anybody has any thoughts on that, I think the best thing to do would be to talk with your liaison because it's the select board that actually writes the evaluation. We're going to be closing down input from the select board members. I think it's the 30th. Soon.
27?
It's soon.
Yeah.
It's soon. So if you have any input that you'd like to share with us, please don't be shy. Okay, that's all I've got. I'm going to start with Zoom today because I feel like that's just the right thing to do. So the first person I see up there is Paul Boehm. Paul, you want to give us an update?
Sure, thank you. You can hear me, everybody?
Yes.
Great. Just a short report from the 2229 Main Street Advisory Task Force. As Mary just mentioned, we have a site visit for the Select Board on September 4th at 3:30 p.m. I don't think that site visit's restricted to the Select Board, so others here, if they want to join, please let me know, and I'll just make sure that the Bruce Thompson, who's conducting the tour, knows how many people are coming. So that's on the 4th. The task force is, I don't know if it's the home stretch or the back stretch, but we are writing our report right now. We've done all the research. The sections of the report are being compiled, and by September 1st, we'll have drafts internally to the task force to review. So we made really good progress on that. Early September, we're going to be discussing our recommendations. The various options and the various sub-options to that recommendation. It's not as easy as thumbs up or thumbs down on acquisition of the site. There's going to be more to it. In support of the task force, the town had engaged an outside consultant, Roux Associates, R-O-U-X. They've done a superb job on evaluating the risks at the site. And what they're doing is looking at the site as it's being cleaned up and as it will be cleaned up, and looking at various areas of the site and advising the task force what the risks, if any, to human health might be in the site and in parts thereof. And that report is now posted on the task force website for anybody to take a look at. They've done a really excellent job and very open to feedback and suggestions from the task force. So that's all I have, making good progress, and hopefully we'll go out of business by the end of the year.
I don't know. There's always a next step at that site, it seems like. Okay, next I see Stefan.
Good morning, everyone. You're throwing me off my game here, Mary, because I had intended to say everything that Keith Bergman said pretty much sums it up. But the Housing Authority is meeting this afternoon, actually, is our August meeting, which is a little bit off schedule because we get our annual audits and accounting review this afternoon, after which we will be in a better position to assess when and how we might be able to acquire our next unit, our next condominium unit, most likely on the open market. But I will take this opportunity to say that with the addition of the Forest Ridge unit on the state's housing, subsidized housing inventory, that by itself would have gotten us to 10%. Exactly, that would have been the last unit to get us there. The Novo Riverside development jumped in front of us and beat us to the punch, but in any case, we're making good progress. No other big news from the Housing Authority at this point, so I will defer to Keith to report on the Housing Roundtable last week. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Who's next on Zoom?
Warren?
Warren. Morning.
You're muted.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Warren Leon from the Concord Municipal Light Board. And our biggest activity at the moment is the fact that there is a search underway for a new permanent director of the Light Board. The search is being led by the town manager, but there's going to be an opportunity for the Light Board, along with our Select Board liaison, to meet with the candidates on Friday, September 6th. And we're looking forward to that, and hopefully there will be a decision and a new permanent director of the Light Board selected shortly. In terms of other things going on, the Light Plant had an extensive survey of all the ratepayers in terms of their satisfaction with the Light Board, their input into things they're happy with, things they would like to see change. And there was a very, very good response, a good response in two ways: a much higher response rate than for most other surveys conducted by the same vendor of other light plants. And secondly, overall very positive reactions to the work of the light plant and overall general satisfaction among the population, and strong engagement and involvement. In terms of where there's relatively the most satisfaction and the least satisfaction, electricity costs are the area where there are the greatest concerns in terms of the light plants' receptivity to input from the community and their quick response in the case of outages and other problems. That was a very favorable response from the community. In terms of other things we're going to be working on, the big thing this fall is going to be putting together in place a plan for how we will be transitioning over the next year or so to time of use rates. Now that folks are getting the advanced electricity meters, it gives us the opportunity to transition to time of use rates, which will be more efficient, which will ultimately bring down costs for everybody. That's my report.
Thank you, Warren. Thank you. Who's next on Zoom? Carmen? Carmen, do you want to say anything?
I have no report. Just listening. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for being here. Mara, I see someone by the name of Mara. Mara, we haven't met, so are you representing a board or committee?
Or maybe if there's anybody else representing a board of committee on Zoom.
Yeah, Dan Grayson is
Well, but Susan was there.
Okay, great.
Susan was next. Yeah. She was-
Hi,
she
can you
was
hear me
next.
all right?
Yes. Morning.
Oh, great. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Chair of the West Concord Advisory Committee, and we did not have a meeting last month, but are hopefully having a meeting tonight. And the things that we're working on are reviewing the items on the West Concord Master Plan, which was issued in 2010. We're trying to take an inventory of what items have been accomplished and which ones still remain and which ones of those are actually still applicable in preparation for conversations with the committee that's working on the MCI property. So we hope to be liaising with them quite a bit more in the fall and ongoing. And then otherwise, we are also creating a closer collaboration with the planning board, which is essentially our parent committee. And we're going to be meeting with them at least twice a year to share priorities and just discuss, the way forward on planning issues. We're going to be also more closely involved with planning decisions when they involve the West Concord Village area. So that's basically a flyby on what we're doing.
Great. Thank you, Susan. I think Dan, you're next. Dan Drazen?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. I'm Dan Drazen with the Concord Housing Development Corp. And just wanted to give you folks an update on two fronts. I'm excited to share that we have selected Habitat for Humanity for the Assabet River Bluff project on Old Marlborough Road. This is going to be the construction of 3 new homes in addition to the 2 existing units in a 2-family home that's there today. Right now, we're working on creating a condominium to manage the shared spaces between those ultimately 5 units.
Great.
So we're excited to have Habitat for Humanity on board. And then the other piece is Junction Village, also known as Christopher Heights. That's on hold pending the MCI Concord analysis that is just getting underway now. We don't expect a whole lot of clarity for at least the next couple years till that process gets sorted out. But we think that Junction Village will be a better project if it's works harmoniously with that MCI Concord long-term planning effort. So that's my update.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else
Hi,
on?
this
Oh,
is
there.
Is my audio coming in?
I'm sorry. I can't understand. No. Can anybody?
No, I can't hear.
We can't understand you.
This is Mira Tilly. Is my audio coming in okay?
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Not anymore. You just muted out.
She must be in downtown Concord.
okay, how about now?
Yes.
Good. Go ahead.
Oh, great. So this is Mira Tilly from the Board of Assessors. I'm the newly elected chair. Apologies for the audio issues. Not many updates to report because we haven't met this summer, but we're meeting for the first time this season next week. And we've just brought in a new member of the board because David, one of our more veteran members, has just stepped off the board. So we're very excited to welcome the new member. And I look forward to giving this group updates as soon as the Board of Assessors reconvenes for the season.
Great. Thank you, Mara. Nice to meet you, and thanks for stepping up to the chair of the assessors. Nobody else on, I don't see anyone else on Zoom that we have. Okay, great. Let's go this way. Kari, do you want to
Sure.
go? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Carrie Rankin. I'm the chair of the Concord School Committee. We had our first meeting last night, the school committee, and we covered mostly just goals for the year, protocols, practices, things like that. We're really excited to hit the ground running this year. We also received the FinCom's guideline letter, and we'll get working on collecting all of that information, returning it. We're excited for a collaborative process this year. From a CPS standpoint, a couple of updates. One is our big capital project that we're expecting this year is an improvement plan at the Thoreau Elementary School. The inside of the school is in really good shape. It's not an old school, but the outside is in dire need of some updates. So we've been working on some, projects from moving parking spaces to expand green space to building a new playground, and there's a committee that's focused on it. And they're doing a really great job of thinking outside the box on how to fund for it. So we're doing a lot of fundraising. We're trying to copy Carlisle's playground build. We're going to do a community build. So all in the beginning phases
Great.
of this, but we're really excited about it coming together. It'll be a good community space. And then just a quick CMS update. I don't know if you've driven down Old Marlborough Road recently, but there's been a ton of progress on the building over the summer. It's looking so stunningly beautiful. Right now it is on track and from a timing perspective and under budget as currently. And we are beginning conversations with the select board and the town on what and how and when we turn over PBD back to the town. So lots happening. We're excited for a busy, fun year. Oh, and last but not least is we're gearing up for the first day of school on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. School.
School. Yeah, school. So those are the CPS updates.
Awesome. Yeah, and for those of you who I haven't met yet, I'm Julie Viola. I'm the chair of the regional high school. So Carrie and I work together on a lot of things. And if you're not familiar with how it works, there's the Concord-Carlisle Regional School District that I chair, but the Concord School Committee is a part of that. So anyway, so just to build on what Carrie mentioned, I think on a lighter note, if you didn't read The Bridge, the Back to School edition was wonderful. And one of the highlights that we're really proud of that we had come to our meeting last night is Anthony Babu won the national debate team. So he went to Iowa and actually won. And the context last night that was put in play is typically people who win that go on to be presidential speechwriters. And he was fabulous. But he literally won. They went to Iowa and the debate team came. So pretty impressive. So if you haven't had a chance, read that. The other things that were...
He came to the meeting with a trophy that was like 3 feet tall. And he was like clutching it. It was really adorable.
Very cute. And he's a sophomore. I think he's one of the first sophomores to ever win it. So just really great from a community standpoint to have somebody like that go on to win something. One of the things that we've jointly worked on is policy work that we haven't had a chance to kind of talk about. So this summer, Carrie, myself, and Cynthia Rainey worked with Dr. Hunter. We updated over 200 policies, and while that might seem mundane, there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into that, and it ranges from everything that is around student learning, but also things like cell phone policies, social media, and there's a lot to be done still, but we made so much progress, a lot to be proud of. I think from just a socialization around the community, one of the things that we're working on now is our goals for both committees for the year. But part of that is the school does something called Portrait of a Graduate, but we also would like to start talking about what the school is, because what I've found from coming over, not only here, but coming onto the Carlisle School Committee is all of us have a frozen moment in time of what high school was like. And even for myself, I graduated in 1998, just to tip my hand on that. That is 25 years ago. And a lot has changed. And so it's really important, I think, that we do a good job of socializing in the community the needs and the changes that are expected of our high school students. It is such a huge part of the community, whether you hear about the sports or what we're talking about with the debate team, but so many students and people visit the campus and the expectations. It's just good to refresh people's view on that. The other thing around goals is just that we're looking at is things around DEIB, including inclusion. So we've had some really great conversations. Carrie and the other team at the CPS has done some great things on race, neurodiverse, and we're also looking at socioeconomic inclusion. That can be very hard for students in a town like Concord and Carlisle and Boston, and we talked about that last night as well. So a lot of things happening, lots to be proud of, lots of work. But I think to Mary's point, we have a very busy September on the school committee side as well. Like I said, around goals, policy, and then school starts. So Carrie and I are going to be with the superintendent next week. It's the only time that all of the teachers across K through 12 will be together. So we'll be a part of that kickoff on Monday.
It's Monday.
Monday. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Andrea, I feel like we skipped over you, and I think this audience should know who you are.
Committee chair.
No, but you play an important role here, and you play an important role. So Andrea is our select board executive assistant. So
I've been here 4 months, and I'm working very closely with Mary and the select board, trying to keep all the pieces together and working to make sure your voices are heard when information comes across that the select board is reviewing or interested in reviewing with you. So that's basically my role. If you have any questions or concerns, things that you want to put forward, I'm happy to be available for you.
we couldn't do it without you. Thank you, Andrea.
Thanks.
Bill.
Bill Maracek, co-chair of the Personnel Board, along with Liz Cobbs. We've been meeting regularly and in the summer. 3 things. One is that we've been following the progress of the town's implementation of the July 1st salary increases for employees. So that's something that we've been discussing and talking about, and ensuring that that's and it should, at this point, it should be all done and taken care of. Number 2 is that with the encouragement of our liaison, Mark Howell, we're going to be setting our own goals and objectives for this coming fiscal year. That is, I think, a good thing perhaps for every committee to have a set in writing what, in fact, one hopes to accomplish, the group hopes to accomplish. And then the third is we're finishing up the Personnel Board charge, the new one, for presentation to the Select Board.
Actually, Bill, thank you for that. I think I mentioned at the beginning of the fiscal year, but I think every committee and board should be looking at their goals. I want to echo what you said, and also look at your charge. Some of the charges that people are using were written in 1970, in the 70s, and so a lot of these things need to be updated. So if you have nothing to do, no, seriously, this is an important thing to do, to know what are your goals for the year, and is your charge really reflecting the reality of your work today. So thank you for bringing that up. Dennis.
Yes. Dennis Fiore, I'm chair of the Historic Districts Commission. I'm pleased to say it's been a fairly quiet summer. I think we approved one major building in Concord, and that's a new barn to go behind Concord Art. They're going to build a barn that's black, and believe it or not, we approved it. I won't go into that.
Okay.
The other thing that we're dealing with quite a bit is pop-up signage. You know, when are all these banners and signs in town really necessary? How long should they be there? So those are questions that we're trying to resolve, and our policies need to be reviewed in terms of those. I want to thank the Select Board for approving 2 new members to the Commission. We're very pleased, and particularly Cameron McKennett, who helped us get those through. So we're very pleased. We're down only 1, which is not bad for us. The only other thing I'll add is we're hoping at some point we'll hear more about 615 Lowell Road. Our decision there came under a lawsuit, and we really don't know what's happening there, and we really would like to know more about it at some point, and hope we be a part of the process as it moves along. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Keith.
Keith Bergman, Chair of the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. I'll first start with an update on the Concord Housing Roundtable meeting that was held on August 15th. There are 7 committees that comprise the roundtable. All 7 were represented. That includes Select Board, Planning Board, Community Preservation Committee, and the 4 boards with housing in their name in Concord. Some of the themes to pull out of that meeting. We met in August because the Community Preservation Committee has a September 13th deadline for submission of applications for next year's funding round. Looks like the housing groups will be putting forth an application for $740,000 for the trust to continue to be able to implement production strategies in the housing production plan. We received $500,000 from the trust this year. Actually, we received $1 million from the trust the year before as monies that were no longer needed for Christopher Heights at Junction Village. The $500,000 we received this year we're going to request a like amount for next year, along with a one-time $240,000 that was recently turned back by the Housing Authority for the Giroux unit, and we'd like to see those funds continue to be used for housing. Some other themes that came up, just to do a snapshot on the subsidized housing inventory, as Stephen Bader noted, we're currently at 12.81%. That is above our 10% goal under Chapter 40B. We are on track to go to 16.12% by later this year, if with an increase of 10% at the residences at Thorough, they can increase their unit count by 10%. If they go to that, and we'll hear more from Theo in a minute. But that would bring us to 12.8%, a total of 1,156 countable units on the SHI. That's out of the total 7,100 year-round housing units. And while that's 16% of our housing stock, only fully 60% of those units of that count will be market rate units. Because with the 40Bs, for every one affordable unit that gets added, 3 market rate units get added. So at the end of all of the development that we're going to see from the 240Bs, only 40% of our housing stock, about 6% of the total will be affordable. And so we're looking at, with the select board's goal of looking at diversifying housing stock, we're doing a deeper dive to see that we actually have units that are restricted at many levels, 50%, 80%, all the way up to 150% of area median income. And units only count if they're up to 80%. We produce units at higher, like 100% CPA funding, 150% for planned residential developments. And we're looking at some of those higher end units for workforce housing to continue to meet the needs. Because while we're nominally above the 10% goal, I don't think anyone would say that we've somehow, that Concord is somehow more affordable to the people who work here than want to live here. So the work continues. The complicating factor in the short term, I think, is that we've been talking about for many months and years. Our plan had been for a real estate transfer fee approved by the state to be the funding source for the trust. As I shared with this group at a prior meeting, there were actually a majority of state senators who supported it, but state leadership didn't, so it didn't make it into the Senate version. Since we're on camera, I won't share all the details of the power dynamics on Beacon Hill, but it's my recommendation as Concord's representative to the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, where I chair the legislative committee, that we should try again, just because it failed miserably on in Beacon Hill this year. The chance may still exist to pursue a real estate transfer fee. Locally, looking at what the trust is working on in the near future, we'll be submitting an application for CPA funding with the support of our other our housing partners. We're expecting to receive an application from the CHDC. We've invited the application for the $1 million needed to complete the Assabet River Bluff project. And we're also inviting an application from the CHDC for pre-development expenses for Junction Village. As we heard Dan talk about, that the CHDC's desire is that as the 51 acres of MCI Concord are planned, that the abutting 12.8 acres of Junction Village should also be planned. The anomaly, as it's been explained to me, is that the $475,000 the town has received from the state due to the MCI planning can only be spent on the 51 acres. So that CHDC needs a funding source for its 12 acres. The trust had set aside $50,000 for that very purpose. So we'll be glad to consider that as it moves forward. And I think I'll stop there.
Thank you, Keith. Mike.
Thank you, Mary. I'm Mike Lawson. I'm the chair of the Economic Vitality Committee. We're continuing to work on our articulated goals this year, which are 4. I'll just mention a couple. We're meeting with Alan Cathcart at our meeting next week to talk about water sewage costs associated with businesses in town. We're finalizing a survey going out to all of the businesses. Sorry.
Just move it
Just
closer.
move it
closer to you.
It's also muted.
Great. Good.
Is that better?
Very good.
Okay, well, come in again and tell me if it's...
He will.
Working on a survey going out to all businesses in town to trying to learn more than just the basic things about square footage and what do they do there so that we can perhaps fine tune some of our work. But we're working on a warrant article that I think I mentioned last time, which would allow for secondary use in industrial zones. What that means is if you had a brewery in an industrial zone, you can sell beer, but you can't sell T-shirts that say my beer is really good. And that's a secondary use, so we're working on that. It's trickier than it sounds, though.
Of course.
Yeah. And finally, we're working with the planning department as they engage in parking zoning discussion. So we're trying to provide input to the planning board on that issue. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Alan, do you want to give us an update?
Alan Bogosian, Historical Commission Chair.
Alan, I think you need come up to the table or grab a mic.
Alan Bogosian, Historical Commission Chair. A lot of our projects, we're working with the Select Board and the Planning Board, so these are all ongoing projects. Not necessarily in order of importance, but we're doing some community preservation, applying for some grants to look at certain neighborhoods and the structures within those neighborhoods. We're keeping tabs on the MCI prison, seeing what's happening with that over there. We're working on looking at the Harrington Wheeler property on the other side of town, but we're working with the Select Board and the Planning Board on that. And most importantly, we're continuing our work with the Historical Preservation Plan with the consultants. So ongoing.
Great. Thank you, Alan.
Good morning. I'm Eric Dahlberg from the Finance Committee. 2 updates. The first was already mentioned. We just yesterday sent out our fiscal year 26 budget request letters to the town, the schools, and Minuteman High School. This is an important step in our guideline setting process. The responses we get from those bodies will inform our thinking on the numbers we ultimately bring to the budget process and to town meeting. And the other update is tomorrow night, I don't know if I was late, Mary, I don't know if you mentioned this. We're participating in a site visit with the Select Board of the DPW campus out on Kaiser Road and the police and fire station out on Walden Street. And we requested that in the context of identifying capital needs and future capital projects. Both of those facilities have been on the long-term radar for future improvements for a while. So we want to get a firsthand look at the conditions at both facilities. Those site visits are technically public posted meetings, so they're open to everybody if anybody's interested.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Eric. Go,
Yeah, go ahead.
you decide, go ahead,
Who
Liz.
do you want, Mary?
Go ahead.
I'm Liza Bemis with the Ag Committee. I just have two things. Concord Ag Day is September 7th. We're going to be right in our usual place. It's 10 to 2. We have 9 farms committed this year to coming. As usual, we are tight on space downtown. The construction shouldn't impact Ag Day. We'll get more updates from the police as we get closer, but looks great right now. So everybody should come. The other thing is not Concord Ag Committee directly related, but an adjacent organization, Stone Soup, which is a nonprofit that helps fund partially Ag Day, is returning this year. The Stone Soup dinner is back. It will be Sunday, September 22nd. Most of the Concord area farms are participating by providing food. Concord area restaurants are providing the cooking. But if you'd like to purchase tickets, all the proceeds go to benefit the Stone Soup Foundation. And that is, again, September 22nd. It's a Sunday night. So
At Verrill Farm.
At Verrill Farm.
Right.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Hi there. I'm Randy Crane with the Concord Board of Health. Nice to see all of you. So I have two things to share, and I brought some flyers that I put out by the food for people to grab on their way out if they'd like. So the first is that next week, August 31st, is Opiate Overdose Awareness Day, and the Board of Health is promoting that day. Just kind of as some background context, in 2023, there were over 100,000 drug overdose deaths in the United States, and each day more than 250 lives are lost to drug overdoses. So it's a major issue in our country. To kind of commemorate that day on August 28th at the main library, the Board of Health is doing a community Narcan training, so you can be trained in how to use Narcan. There is also Narcan available in the just outside of the Board of Health offices on Keys Road. So that's available for people, and please spread the word about that. And there are flyers out front as well. And then the other thing is we are promoting our community health needs survey. Also a flyer about that out front. So we're trying to survey the town to find out what the needs of the community are, and then be able to target our actions to help people the most. So it's there's a QR code to take it online, and there's also paper copies available at the Health Division and the Council on Aging. Maynard is doing their community needs assessment at the same time as we are, and they currently have 50 more people who have completed it than the town of Concord does. So we'd like to beat Maynard. So if everyone in this room did it, we'd be well on our way to getting there. So thank you for your consideration.
Randy, is there a link on the town website?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a good way to get people.
Absolutely.
Great,
yes.
thank you.
Yeah, and please do grab flyers on your way out and spread the word.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Yeah, Mark Ailes, Chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee. We're working to aid town staff right now in aligning the consultant Stantec's transportation and mobility study in directions that will provide tangible results for the town going forward. In aid of that, we have put together a brief 2-page transportation and mobility vision document. That's the first link on the TAC webpage on the town's website. I urge everybody to take a look at that, since everybody is, and anyone who lives in Concord, works in Concord, visits Concord, is a stakeholder when it comes to transportation. So, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name's Eric Moore. I'm the chair of the Town Meeting Study Committee. So our focus right now is on preparing a survey that will go out to the town by October 1st. And in particular, we're going to be hoping to engage the school community, so through PTGs and so on. So I think I hope to talk about that a bit more with this group. I think, one of the challenges that we're facing, I think, we'd like to make meetings shorter. That's my judgment, right? And so I'm not speaking in terms of a determination that we've made as a committee, but we'd like to make meetings shorter, have it end earlier. And so part of that, is what can go onto the consent calendar. Part of that is the kinds of the kinds of things that come up in debate, right? And so I think there's a pattern. So, for example, next year we're likely to see an article on the warrant about the transfer of the Peabody School to the select board. And it seems like a really wonky thing, right? I mean, it doesn't seem like that motion seems like a very specific technical thing that maybe wouldn't really require a lot of discussion. But I think, one thing that we see at meeting is that people, see emotion, they engage with the context and the issues for the first time. So part of that, right, is, golly, what's going to replace the Peabody School? What's going to happen there? And so we see a lot, I believe that we see a lot of discourse at meeting around just people engaging for the first time and trying to understand. That is an important part of what meeting can do, right? Because, this is one of the times where it's one of the rare occasions where a few hundred people give their attention to an issue that's before the town. At the same time, it takes up a lot of time at meeting. And so, in a way, a question is, if people are better informed before meeting, can meeting itself process more efficiently? And so to me, this comes back to how we all who prepare articles for meeting, who communicate around meeting, how we can do more to serve people at meeting who are going to have questions that might be able to look at a briefing book. Keith has talked about this. Or it might have access to information before meeting. And to me, it comes back to what we do to communicate, this sort of solve this last mile problem for meeting. And, I think from our perspective, we can say a lot about what we think should go into it, but it really comes back to what is practical, for FinCom to prepare, or for the planning board to prepare. And so I think this is a case where we really need your help to understand, if we go, oh gosh, we should have a better rubric for explaining things, what really comes down to it for you in terms of how you're communicating over the last mile. So I'm asking for your help in communicating with our group, the Town Meeting Study Committee, to help us understand the constraints that you face and the limitations that you face as you're trying to get information out in the last mile. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Can I ask a question? No.
No, you can ask him later offline.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Sarah, you're next.
Hi, my name's Sarah Grimwood. I'm the new chair for the Natural Resources Commission. So great to meet those of you I don't know. I don't have a lot of updates today. As always, the NRC receives very few applications through the summer months, but it's ramping up again. We have quite a few new applications at today's meeting tonight. And I'll also mention that we do have an opening on the committee. We have a couple of people interested who we're talking to, but if anybody else knows of anybody who might be a good fit, we'd love to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Teo.
Thank you. Theo Kinnemans. I'm chair of the ZBA, and as I always say, our board is by nature a very reactive board, so we just deal with the applications as they come in, and the only item that we're a little bit more proactive on now is the 40B project that was already mentioned. We approved a variance request by the applicant to relocate the driveway that was on the original 40B plans, which I think was a tremendous improvement to the plans on several fronts. So that was a good step, and so we're taking it really step by step. Good relationship with the applicant, and we're moving forward slowly. Next meeting. Now that there's a different access, the applicant is reworking the site plan. We saw a snapshot of it. Buildings are becoming a little bit higher, but moving away from the abutters. So there's some good movement there. I think the applicant also at the first several meetings that we had and the work sessions that we had with them heard from the ZBA and from the abutters several other items that needed to be improved upon, and I think working on that wish list, they will be coming back with us with I think an increase in units, sort of as a trade-off. They can only increase by 10% max. Unless they go back to the state, and they don't want to do that, obviously. So we might see an increase in units. which, you know, we'll see where that gets us. If there, you know, it's always a trade-off. So if what can we get back as a town, what we can get back out of that, if that's the case. And as Keith said, you know, even the 10%, from that 10%, only 2.5% of those units are really affordable. So, you know, we need to get a lot of units to get really affordable units. But what the 40B projects do, indeed, also to one of the points Keith mentioned, is that, you know, it broadens the housing stock we have in town. So that's a good thing, I think. So next meeting for the 40B is, I believe it's September 26th.
Okay.
Could be the 27th, whatever that Thursday. And then hopefully we'll dive deeper into the new plans and get them going. So, and that's all.
Thank you, Teo. You've had a busy year or so. Did anybody join Zoom who'd like to speak?
Mr. Hanson?
Mark, would you like to speak?
Muted.
He unmuted.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mark Hanson, of Pollinator Health Advisory Committee. I just want to let you know we're meeting monthly, the second Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. via Zoom. It's posted on the town website. We are planning to have a table at Ag Day, and as we have in past years. And we're looking to try to work toward establishing what are called pollinator pathways, which is areas in town where there's forage, pesticide-free forage for pollinators that are close enough together that pollinators can move back and forth between these various patches. More on that later, and we'll be talking about that at Ag Day. But that's pretty much it for us.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Anybody?
There are just two items that we didn't have folks talk to us about today that have come up at the housing roundtable. One is the MBTA community zoning, which is compliance, which I don't know if anyone wants to tell us about that. The other is which apparently there'll be additional work. Which mic?
That one, unmute it.
Okay.
There we go.
That on MBTA community zoning, there's finally a compliance review that's been received by the planning board. And the roundtable was briefed that there are a number of fixes that need to be made. Most of them can be made administratively, at least one. Adjusting the map was going to require a trip back to town meeting. There's some question about when the timing of that would occur, but that is a process that will be playing out. The other policy matter we discussed at the housing roundtable, which gets at an issue that Theo mentioned, the fossil fuel-free bylaw amendments approved at the April town meeting are now in effect. That they were approved by the Attorney General at the end of August. And so all new construction and major rehabs, including affordable housing, will be subject to fossil fuel free, and that's a good thing from our perspective. For the 40B that is still in front of the ZBA, getting them to comply voluntarily with the fossil fuel free bylaw is something that the housing groups would like to see. We know the ZBA is pushing that. Novo 40B, which was not subject to that fossil fuel-free bylaw either, voluntarily agreed to do it as part of theirs. So maybe it's something that ZBA can do. So thanks.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. Thank you, Keith, for bringing up the MBTA compliance. I want to clarify that Elizabeth came to the select board meeting on Monday night. And apparently we've gotten feedback from a pre-approval letter that we asked for, which was a voluntary exercise. We don't have to file with the state until December. We will file based on what we passed at town meeting last year. Right. Going forward, How the state reacts to that and how we react to that is still an open question. So I think it's premature to think that we're definitely going to go to town meeting with a revised map. We're still in discussion. So I just want to clarify.
That's good to know.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
Probably further clarification is that as of now, based on what we've already done and where we are in the process, we're in compliance with the MBTA zoning
Yes.
law. So we're working through final improvement under which that zoning plan would go into effect. So we're still in the process and we're still working through it, and we have received this letter. I thought just briefly I would mention the MCI Advisory Board is meeting on generally Mondays at noon. I don't see the chairs here, so I'll just give a brief update. The main thing that we want the community to be aware of is the September 12th initial community engagement meeting. That's going to take place here at the Townhouse. It's a Thursday night at 7 p.m. The State Department of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance, DCAM, it will be there hosting their first of legislatively required community engagement meetings, and the advisory board will be there as well. To set some expectations for that, that is really about what has happened, some idea of what the timeline is going to be. As people have mentioned, this is a long process. We're getting going. We can expect that there will be consulting support, a number of technical studies, as well as visioning exercises that are going to take place. And so some initial sense of what that timeline is likely to be. It's really important to realize that the Department of Correction hasn't even turned over the site yet. They're still decommissioning. They expect that process is going to take a year. So we're really beginning that planning process, and that's where the MCI Advisory Board is at the moment.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for communicating, and we'll see you in September.